Hey, greetings, everyone. Lieutenant Colonel Alan West here, and welcome to the Steadfast and Loyal program.
You gotta light 'em up before they burn it down. Better dig deep, put 'em in the ground. Blood on their hands, they're hellbound. Sing a song. Ooh, they're gonna burn it down. Sing a song before they burn it down.
Hey, greetings, everyone. Lieutenant Colonel Alan West here. Welcome back to the Steadfast and Loyal program. You know, the Republican National Convention concluded about a week ago up in Milwaukee. I got to tell you, it was probably one of the best conventions I have seen recently because the Republicans stayed on message when they talked about the very first night was make America wealthy again, make America safe again, make America strong again, make America great again. And there was an incredible enthusiasm there that I did not see, and especially, you know, in 2020 when you had the COVID issue and you didn't have that full blown out convention. So I thought it would be great if I talked to some people from the Texas delegation to ask them what their perspectives were of that convention. And the first person I want to talk to is Lisa Dyer of Robeson Ranch, the citadel, the bastion of conservatism in Denton
Yes.
County. Lisa,
Yes.
thanks so much for being here with us.
Thank you for having me.
Now,
It's
was
such
this
a pleasure.
Oh, stop. Was this your first convention?
It was.
What was that experience like? I mean, let's talk about it from the moment you're at the state convention and you get selected to be a delegate. What has it been like for you?
So I think that going into the state convention, in my mind, all those delegates had kind of already been almost like pre-selected. And then walking into one of the meetings, finding out that you could actually run to be a delegate. And I just kind of looked at my husband and he knew that I was about,
in.
yeah. And so I just went back to the hotel room that night, put together a flyer, printed some off, and just went around our, the congressional district
Yes.
26
Yes.
that I'm a part of, and just started introducing myself to other delegates and letting them know that I wanted to run and that if they felt that I would be worthy enough for their vote, that I would be honored for that. And so went up and I got nominated and somebody else got nominated and I ended up winning. And so that was pretty cool because I never expected when we made the decision to go to San Antonio that I was going to go on to the next level.
Wow. And so this was really a grassroots thing for you because this is your first time. You'd never done anything like this and you just got the fire in your belly. So you win the seat to go be a delegate at the national convention. In that time period from the state convention to you getting on the airplane, what was that feeling like? Did you get butterflies in your stomach? What were you expecting?
I don't know that. Well, more of excitedness and like unbelief that, you know, I was going to get this opportunity. I used to be a teacher and I taught, one of the grades I taught was 5th grade for 8 years. And I taught U.S. history up through the Civil War. So just the enormity of the historicalness of this convention, I understood that. I understood that this was a once in a lifetime event that I was really privileged to because there were other people, you know, that wanted to run and, you know, when they did the Delegate 2 and Delegate 3 and everything. So I just think just a lot of thankfulness that I was given this opportunity. Yes, the excitedness for it, you know, trying to prepare a little bit, but really there's still an unknown because not knowing what you're walking into, sometimes you don't prepare as well as you should.
You know, the historical aspect is so key because a lot of people forget that the Republican Party was founded in Wisconsin in 1854.
Which I didn't know that.
See, the old colonel knows a little something.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it was kind of like, you know, an opportunity to come back home, come back to your roots, and talk about the party of Lincoln, the party that ended slavery and the party that now tries to end, you know, economic enslavement. So you're there. What were some of the focuses? What were some of the things that you wanted to get out of this and see and experience as being a delegate?
Well, I think I wanted to just really experience it all, and I know that's kind of broad, but also try to kind of step out of my comfort zone. So when there was people that, you see on like TV, elected officials, whether they were state or whether they were national, really just going out and kind of introducing myself and, taking a picture of them or with them. So I did do that a lot. I had to laugh. I was talking to my dad on the way over here, telling him I was doing this. And I said, one night I was like trying to make a beeline back to my seat. And we were sitting right off the main aisle where there was a lot of press. And I'm like, kind of like football player, dodging in and out, trying to go through. And I actually just about ran into Senator Ron Johnson from Wisconsin.
That's okay.
And I was like, oh, sorry, sir. So I think just... It was so cool just to see some of the people that you see and some of the movers and shakers. And even though, like, for me, I wasn't really a 100% big fan, but you could see like Kevin McCarthy, the former speaker, out. So I didn't get a picture with him, but I took some pictures of him.
Course.
So I think that was wonderful, as well as you really get to see the big picture of the whole political process.
Yes.
Which for, somebody who has a minor in history that, and likes that political portion, it really fulfilled that political junkie in me.
So let's talk about that. What was your most favorite takeaway and what was your least favorite takeaway from this political process that you found yourself part of?
I think that you were right when you said it was so organized. They had that theme every night, and you had your Trump workers out, assigned to the different delegates and sections, and just getting the crowd hyped up. I didn't know that kind of happens behind the scenes. So, that was very interesting because while I feel like Texas organically said, go Trump or fight, or, just those cheerings that we went into, yes, there were some that they were like, okay, we're going to say this. But sometimes, a speaker said something and we were right there. Texas was right there. Like Texas definitely represented. And so as a fairly new Texan, it was pretty cool to be a part of.
Now, where are you from originally?
So I actually grew up in Iowa.
Okay.
And then spent a few years in Nebraska, and then spent right before we moved here, I was in Virginia, outside of the DC area.
You probably would not have been successful in being a delegate from Virginia.
No, and it's one of the reasons why we left. The state was way too purple.
Well, and maybe it's changing with Glenn Youngkin winning the gubernatorial race there. Maybe people are waking up.
There was that little teaser that maybe Glenn Youngkin would have been a VP pick, and I thought that would have been pretty cool. It'll be interesting to see if he makes it on the cabinet if, when Trump gets elected.
Yeah, because, Youngkin is term limited out. In Virginia, you only get 1 4-year term. So there are some things that he can do. So what was your least favorite aspect of the convention? Be honest.
Least favorite. Okay. I would say that they put Texas all the way in Madison.
Oh, I heard about that.
Yes. While Madison was a beautiful city, it was an 1.5-hour bus ride.
Yeah.
And so by the time you got to your hotel,
1 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah. Like I was going on 5 or 6 hours of sleep every night.
Well, you know why that happened.
Why? Do you have an insight? Because we were trying to figure out.
Of course. Because former Chairman Matt Rinaldi did not back Ronna McDaniel to be chairwoman. And so, the chairperson, is the one making all the decisions about where people get to stay. And, this thing is laid out, years ahead. And so that was the slap to his face.
2028, it's supposed to be in Houston. So let's hope they have the Texas delegation stay in Houston and not ship them out.
Well, hopefully they can stay at home. But I had some people telling me that they're in Madison. Like, you guys, that's a long, long day.
Yeah.
But at least it was worth it. You could, sleep on the bus ride back. So going ahead, we have now seen that the Democrats have changed out their candidate. Does it make a difference to you?
No. I think Trump is just so strong and his message is so clear. It is disheartening to see, when I'm on social media last night and today, people are, oh, I'm so excited, Kamala, woman president. And I'm just like, but what does she bring to the table? Tell me like at least 10 things that she has done that's made a difference.
She got a great laugh.
Well, she looks like she'd be fun at a party, and I will say that, like,
Right.
but I just look at her, and it's like, just because she's a woman and I'm a girl, you
Are you sure?
I
Because
am.
the other side,
No, I'm
okay.
yes, I'm sure. But I wouldn't vote for somebody just because of their gender. Like, you have to vote for somebody because they bring a strength
Yeah.
and they bring a skill set
Yeah.
to that office. Somebody talked about, well, it's really about the whole team. I heard that a pundit on the news saying that today. It's about the whole team. Well, not really, because in any good organization, you have a leader who is able to lead and delegate and oversee things and be forward thinking.
Yes.
I just don't see that in
Well,
her.
the leader has to set a vision,
Mm-hmm.
and they have to issue guidance. And one of the things that concerns me is that you have a Biden administration hadn't had a cabinet meeting since October of last year. So who's running
Right.
the country? What are they coordinating? And the left always leans toward this identity politics thing, but it can be very damaging to you. And so it'll be interesting to see what happens in that first debate, if it is a vice president, Kamala Harris that gets the
Yeah.
nomination, because guess what? She's been there for these past 3.5 years. So she owns the situation that we see in America.
And I feel kind of sad for all those Democratic voters that they really didn't get a say in who their nominee is going to be.
Well, they don't care.
Well, they should.
Yeah.
They should.
Yeah, but they don't care. I mean, that's the totalitarian nature and tyrannical nature of who they are. First and foremost, you kicked everybody out of the primary to say that this is the guy.
Yeah.
Now you all of a sudden realize after that debate, ooh, it's probably not our guy. And so now you're switching up.
They do seem to be party over voter.
Of course they are.
Yeah.
But, it's all about democracy and saving democracy, though.
Wow. Is it though?
No, it's not. It's all about power and control.
Yeah.
So now you're back. What do you think is your most important mission, duty, focus, having been a former delegate to the convention? I mean, we're like 91 days from early voting starting here in Texas.
I think it's really going to be making sure that everybody gets out to vote. And yesterday, my husband and I were driving back from church. Yeah, from church, and lunch and stuff. And so I said, I think, especially at Robeson, we are a 55 and older community. And because Robeson started building houses 20 years ago, you do have some older individuals in their, late 80s and 90s. And so I said, I think I'm going to volunteer several days during the early voting and then on the day of voting to be able to go and drive them up to the polls. So that way they can't say like, well, I can't get around.
Yeah.
So I think that will be like definitely one big thing that I can impact. In social media, I try not to get too political, but I did get political this week because, of course, I had to post.
Yeah.
And I got a lot of good reception from my friends and stuff who were excited to see what I was doing. But I think just making sure to tell people, just go out and vote, because you can't sit back and say, oh, well, Trump's got it. He's got it in the bag.
Don't be complacent.
That's what they did in 2022.
Absolutely. The red
And-
wave.
Yes, the red wave, that didn't happen.
That was a puddle.
It was.
Lisa Dyer, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
And God bless you. And
God
go out
bless
there and
you.
kick butt and rope some ranch.
Thank you.
All right.
Appreciate
Hey,
it.
folks, we'll be back after these messages. Hey, greetings, everyone. Lieutenant Colonel Alan West here. We've got a special offer from United Patriot Coin. Buy 4 ounces of silver and get your 5th ounce free. With the economy on the brink and a volatile election season ahead, the price of silver is predicted to soar to levels not seen in over a decade. This could be the perfect time to start or add to your silver stack. According to a recent report by the Silver Institute, global demand for silver is projected to hit 1.2 billion ounces by the end of the year, making it the second highest level on record. When demand rises, the price tends to go right along with it. So act now to take advantage of this potential price surge. You don't want to miss out on this one. Build your silver holdings before the price jumps and ride the wave as the market goes up. Take advantage of our limited time offer to get a free ounce of silver when you buy 4 silver rounds at the regular price. Visit UnitedPatriotCoin.com. Check out the different designs, then call when you're ready to place your order. And make sure to mention me or vault code WEST5. That's WEST5 when you call. The site is unitedpatriotcoin.com, or skip that step and just call their order line at 844-202-7834 to find out what designs they have this week. Hey, welcome back, everyone, to the Steadfast and Loyal program. Lieutenant Colonel Alan West here. We're going to continue our discussion with some members of the Texas delegation that went to the Republican National Convention up in Milwaukee. And now we're joined by Mike Montez from Argyle, Texas. Mike, thanks so much for joining us here.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Was this your first convention?
It was my first convention.
Wow. So what was the impetus? Because obviously you had to run for this at the state party convention. Talk to us about what inspired you to do that.
Well, I think it goes all the way back to when I started being a precinct chair. I saw, watching the television like most Americans do, and frustrated beyond belief as to what I was seeing happen to my country.
Yeah.
Right. So I got up, I said, what can I do in the party? And found precinct chair. Actually, my precinct was had a chair at the time. So then it split because of the growth that's happening there in Argyle into 5 precincts.
Wow.
So now there was a precinct open for me to take over, and got in and got going. The same thing happened at the state convention. There was an opportunity, right? We went in, I was thinking that those were already selected. I didn't really know the process.
Yeah.
So when it came to the opportunity to be able to, put my name in the hat, I did and was very excited to do so.
That's awesome. Now, explain to people the importance of precinct chairs, because a lot of people hear that, but they don't really understand what the criticality is of that position.
Essentially, precinct chairs are boots on the ground, right? We're the front line to bringing voters in, to helping the community really connect with their leadership. So those who are elected officials, making sure that they know if the elected officials are doing a good job or maybe not doing such a good job, and just to help to be, informative, and then certainly to bringing them to vote, the day of.
Were you known very well in your congressional district before the process got going to be selected as a delegate?
I think within the precinct chairs, somewhat. In our last there in Denton County, we've had a kind of a hard,
Tumultuous?
yes sir, 2
Yeah.
years, and so I was one of the keyboard warriors that was writing, our former chair and laying out what I thought was not right about what was happening. So I got a little bit of a name for myself doing that, but ultimately I'm typically the guy in the back that's quiet, sitting, just happy to listen. I'm not really the front man.
So you go up to the convention. What did you have as your thought? What part can I play in this national convention? I'm one of X amount of hundreds of thousands of delegates here. What can I do in my own little space? What was that to you?
To me, it was about one thing. It's about holding the line.
Okay.
Right. I feel that, especially there was a little rumor at the state that they might try to bring somebody in or play some kind of dirty trick to get Trump out. So I thought, if there's anything I can do, it's go in there and hold the line, ensure that the people that we send from congressional district 26 are gonna not gonna waver. We're all voting for Trump, and make sure that we're doing what we've been called to do.
We just had the discussion with your CD mate, Lisa.
Mhm.
What was it like for you to be going up there to represent your congressional district?
So my wife was joking with me. She said, "I bet you this is right up there with our wedding day, wasn't it?" And I'd have to say, honestly, it really was. It was just a close second, right? So wedding, my kids, meeting Jesus, and then this event.
Okay.
For me, because it was historic,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
This is something that I'll print pictures out of me being there and show my grandchildren that Grandpa was here at this moment in time, doing this for our nation. And so it was incredible. It was emotional.
Yeah.
I felt everything all at once, and some of the speakers were just moving, breathtaking. The lady who lost her
I was just
son.
going to say, who was the most impactful speaker that is branded in your mind?
So there were a few that were really moving, were really great. But I'll tell you, Trump, when he spoke, when he started to tell his story about that moment that he was almost assassinated, he said something to me that resonated with me more than anybody else, and it was that I'm going to only tell this story once because it's too painful. So back in 2020, my wife almost died. She lost 88% of her blood on the operating table giving birth to my son. And it was right there, March 18th. It was COVID, was just ramping up. And I felt devastated, and I heard the pain in his voice like I've never heard him speak before, and it rocked me to my core. At that moment, I thought, my gosh, this man, although he is just a man, right?
Mm-hmm.
I understand that. You know, he's not our savior, but he's somebody who's willing to stand in the gap where really no one else has been willing to do. As a man that I feel like I can follow, and so that moment will live with me forever.
Well, I can tell you that, sitting back here in my home in Garland, that Monday night when he first came out to the convention, that was an emotional experience. What was it like for you there?
Oh, it was incredible. Everyone was just so energized and uplifted, and waving our "Make America Great Again" signs and waving our hats. The Texas delegates always.
Oh yeah,
waving
we
our
saw
hats.
plenty
Yeah.
of hat waving.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
And it was just, again, to be a part of that moment. It was surreal. A little bit of me was like, I need to pinch myself, make sure this is really truly happening, because how did I get here?
Yeah.
Right. I grew up as not a very rich kid, right? Just a poor kid born in El Paso, and
Mm-hmm.
certainly not political. Actually, I grew up in a Democrat family.
Same here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So to be sitting, being representing the CD 26 in our county and our state was incredible.
Well, let's talk about that, because most people look at you and I, as Joe Biden said, 4 years ago, if you don't vote for me, you ain't black. We are the biggest threat.
Mm-hmm.
Hispanic conservatives, black conservatives. Do you get a lot of pushback, because, maybe in the Hispanic community, or do you see the Hispanic community coming around?
2020 was a lot of pushback. This time around, there's really not very many. There are some people, certainly in my family, but people that I know who are, they're yellow dog Democrats, right?
Yeah.
They're just not going to change. Doesn't matter who you put up there. We could have a weekend at Bernie's situation, and
And we did.
yeah, and they'd be voting Democrat. But there are a good number of people who believe in family
Yeah.
and in faith. They believe in God, and they're seeing that the Democrat Party's left them, and so they're finding that they don't have a home, and they're looking at the Republican Party as really aligning with their moral values.
How big an issue is border security in the Hispanic community?
I think
You
it's,
said you're from El Paso
yes, sir.
originally.
Yeah, so huge.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny, if you go to El Paso and you go into the inner city, those houses have big iron
Oh, I know. I've seen it.
gates and,
Yeah.
and windows, are gated. And as you move out and further along, it starts to get a little bit more open. They're feeling a little bit more safe. So as that border wall continued to be, built up in El Paso, it's fairly good. A few miles out, there's certainly it just stops, and people
Yeah.
could just walk through. But they've made a concerted effort, and so I think for them it's a big deal, right? They want to make it safe for their family and their community.
When you think about the Republican platform, what's the most important issue for you personally, Mike?
Well, I'd say it's about we the people, right? So bringing back the power to the individual state. I think that's the critical issue. As I watched the platform kind of be presented to us at the national convention, and what things were going to be important, I noticed that abortion wasn't on there, right? And I had many people telling me, hey, this can't be. But I think what we've done is we've given the power back to the people, and we're still a little uncomfortable with that notion. So we still want Big Brother to fight all of our battles for us, right? We want to control Big Brother, right? The Republicans do. And I think it's time for us to start looking to the states and to the power that we've been given, and ensure that the things that we want in our state, in our counties and in our cities are held by us and not by somebody else.
Well, I think the thing, when you look at the life issue, I don't want to see states become many infanticide communities, because that's what you see. I mean, people are going cross border to New Mexico, they're going into California. And so I understand, that which is not delegated to the federal government, reserved to the states and to the people. But we have to have, again, coming back to some basic moral foundation.
Certainly.
Because even when you look at some European countries, I mean, it's at 12 weeks or 13 weeks. The worst is 26 weeks. That's the Netherlands and UK. But I think that all of us want to have some semblance of humanity.
Sure.
Really, when it comes to this issue, we don't want to see this being the first means of birth control and
Certainly.
dismembering babies. And up to the time of birth, like I said, that's infanticide.
Well, and I think the number of people who really truly want that and think that that's okay is starting to shrink, right? So I do think it's important for us as individuals to take a stand on what we believe is right. And I think for too long we've been allowing the government to just tell us what to do and how to do it.
Yeah.
And so, although I don't want those states to be places where abortion is available, they need to step up and they need to decide what they're going to do. Is that really something that they want, for their family, their community, their life? If that's true, I mean, we look at Seattle. I mean, that place
gosh,
is,
yeah.
it's on fire.
Yeah, it's a
Right?
wasteland.
Right. And you're going to see, compare Seattle to Texas, there's no comparison, right? And so what's different about Texas than Seattle? You start to look at their morals, you start to look at the laws, you start to look at those things, and they'll get it. They'll get it. They may be slow, but they'll get it.
Although I am concerned in Texas because you look at Austin,
Mm-hmm.
you look at Houston, you look here at Dallas, San Antonio, you do see our major cities trending that way. And that, I mean, when you look at the breakdown of Texas by county, 254 counties, but the blue is very well defined
Yes,
in
sir.
our urban population centers. So I think it's important that we break through that.
For sure.
What's your final message you want to give to the people, to the audience, about your experience there at the Republican National Convention?
I think it's that the elite doesn't have control of this nation anymore. It's in the control and it's for the taking of those who will stand up and take it. So all we have to do is get involved. I was a nobody sitting on a couch yelling at Fox News, and that's that 3 years ago. Not that I'm anybody special, but I'm certainly
Yeah, you are.
involved, right? I'm certainly involved now. And I think that that's what it takes. Most people are so unbelievably complacent in just allowing government to do whatever government's going to do. And we can look at the last 3.5 years to see what you get when you let the government do what their government's going to do. So it's time to stand up and it's time to get involved and it's
Well, I
time to
pray
take back our
that
nation.
people saw that in the COVID fiasco when, you're told that your business has to shut down. You're a healthy person. You can't come outside your house. And now we have people telling you what type of car you can drive and
Yes, sir.
what type of stove you can have. So,
Yes, sir.
Mike, thank you so very much.
Absolutely.
And hopefully we'll be able to talk again when you go to your next convention in 4
yes,
years.
sir. Yes, sir. Thank
All
you.
right. Hey, folks, we'll be right back after these commercial messages. So here's the Allen West version, Watchtower Firearms, a BDR-X. You can see it has the Steadfast and Loyal podcast logo on it. And on this side, you've got, my actual digitized signature and my Army Master Parachutist wings. And of course, you got to have the American flag. And again, I mean, this is such an incredibly light weapon. I mean, I just can't believe it. And I like the skeletized design. And this flash suppressor here is unique. They make it here at Watchtower, and it actually reduces the rise of the weapon when you fire it. So I'm just looking forward, and Magpul hard sights, and I think I'll keep hard sights on this, but I'm looking forward to taking it out here and shooting it and zeroing it in. And I love the skeletized hand grip here. And of course you got the extendable, butt stop, and I prefer this forward hand grip, more than anything else. I really like this. So here it is, right up there next with Rob O'Neill. It's hard to believe that, but that's why America's such a great country. Where a kid born in the inner city of Atlanta, Georgia can have an AR-15 designed by him and with his signature on it, limited edition. So check out their website, watchtowerfirearms.com. And if you want, you can purchase one of these.
Before they burn it down.
Hey folks, welcome back to our final segment of the Steadfast and Loyal program. We've been talking to individuals that were delegates at the Republican National Convention up in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And now we're going to close it out with a young man that I've known quite some time, Joshua Hendrickson of Lantana. Joshua, thanks for being with us.
Thank you, sir. Thanks for inviting me on.
How old are you?
I am 24 and I'll be 25 next month.
Let's talk about this because most people would say that you're the anomaly. Do you see something different changing in our young generation? Because you're Gen X.
Gen Z.
Gen Z. See, I can't get these things right. Millennial, Gen X, Gen Z, whatever. Do you see things changing in your generation?
Well, I believe so. I am noticing more people my age trending at a lot of these rallies and events and whatnot. And statistics do show that young men in general are trending more Republican in terms of their voting habits. I'm looking forward to seeing that trend continue and hoping it continues.
What is do you think is the biggest contributing factor to that?
Well, for starters, the one their inflation is screwing them. They can't afford to buy a house like many could generations ago at my age. They can't get married. It's a lot of the stuff people like Aaron McIntyre, Tucker Carlson, and J.D. Vance talk about. How they're getting screwed by the current economy. Our social climate is terrible, and a lot of them are seeing answers in our party.
Good. So you're precinct chair also.
Well, I'm not a precinct chair.
Oh,
I did
you were?
Yes.
Yeah, you were a precinct chair. So in that position, how were you received as this young man going out there and trying to energize some older generations that can be a little bit hard-headed?
Well, a lot of people were surprised to see a young person at their door.
Yeah.
A lot of people, yeah, it is a lot of 65s and baby boomers and whatnot. Some people were thankful. Some people were just still processing variations, a lot of variation.
Now, you're at the state party convention. I'm going to ask you the same question. What inspired you to want to be a delegate at the national convention?
Well, for starters, I wanted to be a part of history, and I didn't want the Nikki Haley crowd and that faction of the party trying to screw over our nominee. I was a little nervous about being there. I was told it would cost about $5,000 and all that sort of thing. But on the other hand, I had some friends egging me to run. The position was open. I ran and won.
There you go. Now, that is interesting because I think a lot of people don't realize is that you may want to go be a delegate, but you got to foot your own bill for this. I mean, the airline ticket, the hotel ticket, all of these things, the meals, what have you. The only thing you don't have to pay for is the gas in the bus, but maybe you have to pay a portion of the gas fees, the bus fees coming back. So how were you able to get that, thousands of dollars or whatever to enable you to go to the convention? Did you raise it yourself?
Well, for starters, I am a pathological penny pincher, so I did save quite a bit.
Good.
And another thing was agreeing to have some roommates like Mike Montez and another delegate as well.
Yep.
So that definitely cut my hotel bill in a third. And also scheduling flights well in advance at a cheaper airline like Southwest, which was the only airline that didn't get affected by the current IT issue.
Okay. Did you fly into Madison itself?
We flew into Milwaukee and
Okay,
then we all crammed into an Uber and then drove all the way to Madison.
That's a long Uber ride.
Yeah.
Well, now you're up in Madison, Wisconsin, and everyone knows that Madison, Wisconsin is one of those very, very far left universities.
It's the Austin of Wisconsin.
Did you have any interaction with young people up there in Madison while you were there?
Well, I did have a little bit of an interaction with a guy getting a petition for Cornell West to be on the ballot.
Okay, he said Cornell, not Colonel. Okay, there's a big difference between the two. All right.
Yeah, I wanted to sign it just so I could help the Democratic Party split the vote, so to speak, and make it easier for Trump to win Wisconsin. But you have to be a Wisconsin voter to sign, and we don't believe in that sort of thing in our party.
So, what was the greatest experience that you had being there as a young person at this convention?
Well, seeing lots of people like me, as well as getting
young
to see
people.
Getting to hear Trump speak, getting to be in on the action and see history happen.
Now, when you look back on this, because I know you're really into policy and things of this nature, and so I'm sure that you went through the platform and you look for, things that you did not agree with. Were there anything that, stood out for you in the platform that, you were not exactly comfortable or happy with?
Well, I didn't like how, as David Barton as well pointed out, how they gutted a lot of the social issue stuff. Like when you have the kingpin of the log cabin saying inclusion has won, something wrong has happened.
Yeah. How about the gun control? Because I heard a lot of issues about the Second Amendment got taken out of the platform as well.
Yeah, not good either. Although we know that Trump did a bump stock ban in the White House when he was in the White House, so that didn't really surprise me as much.
Well, it was interesting because that got overruled. When it went to court. So, hopefully he has learned. And, it's so troubling that when I was listening to the hearing for Kimberly Cheadle, who is the director of the Secret Service, you would think that they would be talking about the processes and procedures that failed on the Trump assassination attempt. But as always, the left pivots back around to gun control. Gun control, what does that represent to you? if they were able to get their way and get that instituted?
Well, the right to defend yourself in case of a bad situation would be taken away. That's what it would represent. One's right to preserve one's life, liberty, and property.
Now, would you plan on going back to another convention?
If I had the money, yes, I would, which I hopefully do in 4 years.
Well, I'm sure you will. Now, let's talk about what you're going to do now that you have come back from this convention. What's your focus? What's the things that you want to see achieved and accomplished?
Policy-wise, campaign style-wise.
Well, let's start with policy, and then we'll go to campaign, and then we'll go to your Gen Z demographic.
All right. Policy-wise, I would definitely like to see things become more affordable, inflation to be combated. I mean, I would definitely love to see gas prices at least have like they were pre-Trump, as well as securing the border, finally building the wall. I think Trump should have done it in his first term, but better late than never, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I think the other side has been exposed, and to include a lot of people on the Republican side were exposed and not, working with him on that. And so the next thing is the campaign. What do you see your focus and purpose is? Because we're, like I said with Lisa, I believe, we're 91 days away from early voting starting here in Texas, so 3 months.
Well, I'd say don't be complacent like we were back in 2020. That's for starters. Don't trust the mail-in system. Don't trust people like doing last-minute stuff to ensure Democrats screwing us over. I remember back when you were state chair of the Texas GOP and one of the main people in Harris County wanted to send 3 million mail-in ballots.
Yeah, Chris Hollins, he was the supervisor of elections. Yeah, he just wanted to mail out a bunch of these unsolicited ballots, and I was like, that's unconstitutional, my friend. You're supposed to have absentee balloting means you request a ballot and you sign, and then that signature is verified, especially is verified when that ballot comes back and it's been completed. So I think it's very important that we, keep our eyes and ears out for that. To include, are you concerned about illegals maybe voting here in the state of Texas?
Yes. I mean, we are getting asylum papers and all this legal identification, which makes voter fraud infinitely easier for them. And of course, I've also read stories from back in 2016 where Democrats were handing voter registration cards to so-called refugees. So
yeah,
they've done it before, and they're probably going to try and do it again.
Well, they have to do something. Okay, so now Joe Biden is out. Kamala Harris is in. Does it make a hill of beans to Joshua Hendrickson?
Well, I think it's the same terrible policies, but with less dementia.
Yeah, good point. And so therefore she cannot blame her failures on anything other than incompetence, I would presume. How do you think they try to spin this going forward? Because, she was culpable and she was complicit in this whole scheme of, Biden's fine. I mean, he's on top of things. I mean, do you think she'll be held accountable?
Well, not by her own party, that's for sure. They're already spinning the Trump's too old angle after putting up an 81-year-old dementia patient for such a long time. They have chronic cognitive dissonance, and I don't see that changing unless something big happens at the DNC convention in August.
Well, it'd be kind of hard to say that the guy's too old, just got his ear grazed by an AR-15 bullet and jump right back up and start pumping his fist. Okay, I don't know how you're going to, win that argument about him being too old. Going forward, what is your hope? Because you hear so many people saying that the American dream is over, it's done. What gives you hope, Joshua, as a young 24, 25-year-old American?
Well, I'm seeing more people like us, ideologically, even in my own generation, rising up, becoming more enlightened, seeing what got us in this mess in the first place, and actually serious about fixing these issues. That does give me hope.
And, there's another aspect that we have to be very cognizant of, and you know this very well. 25 million Christians on average in a presidential election cycle don't vote. What can we do to inspire the body of Christ to step up and be participants in the political process and not just, like you say, put the Heisman out there and bury their head in the sand?
Well, I think we might need to do more voter registration in the church. We need more pastors preaching correct politics from the pulpit. That would be something great. I go to Sojourn Church out in Carrollton as well.
Yeah.
And I think Pastor McCrae does a great job of that. We also see a lot more of these so-called Christian nationalist types actually noticing this issue regardless of denomination. They're doing it from their pulpits.
Well, the thing, this Christian nationalist, that's another one of those disparaging and denigrating terms that the left is trying to come up with to get you to self-censor and to silence yourself.
Because heaven forbid a believer has any opinion on anything that's contrary to the left.
Yeah, I mean, last time I checked, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, they said no, and Daniel said no. So I think that, Christians should stand up for righteous governance, not government that wants to shut down churches, but keep McDonald's and Home Depot open. What's your closing message to the folks out there in the Steadfast and Loyal podcast world? So Joshua, young man, constitutional conservative, very astute. What's your closing message to the people that are watching and listening to this podcast program?
Well, never be complacent, ever be watchful, and stay steadfast and loyal.
The kid took my line. Okay, he's not supposed to be able to do that. I'll get him later. Joshua, thanks so much.
Anytime, sir.
God bless you. Steadfast and loyal, folks. Hi, I'm Lieutenant Colonel Alan West, and throughout my life, from military to public service, the right to bear arms responsibly has been a fundamental belief. That's why I stand with United Patriot Supply. They're redefining what it means to be a firearms dealer by combining the experience and know-how of a traditional gun shop together with the selection and pricing power of a modern e-commerce company. Stop by our flagship store in Seneca, Kansas, or visit us online at UnitedPatriotSupply.com.